Fuck!
Fuck, I just asked you a fucking question.
Answer the question! Hello and welcome back to The Thing It Is We Do. Today I am Banana Prime. My name is Liam, and today I have with me, what's the opposite of Prime? Banana Subprime Sophie and Banana Unprime Manu. How are we today, guys?
I'm glad that I'm at least subprime and not unprime.
I'm very happy I got re-invited to the podcast. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yes, welcome.
We strongly considered just promoting Riley and booting you completely, but, well, Riley's schedule was quite busy.
Fair enough. The man is busy.
It's not actually our
He has
choice.
better things to do. Yeah.
But in all seriousness, it's a pleasure to have you back. How are you feeling? You have completed the trifecta of blue banana spicy flus now.
Yes. We've all had it now at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it a lot.
No, really?
Would not recommend again.
Yeah. Weren't you the one who was symptom-free, Sophie?
I was. Wear it with a badge of honor.
The advantages of youth.
Definitely didn't happen to me. I don't know why it really started spiking here in Japan like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It started going up, and really extremely. I guess because it hasn't been here really the last few months, while it's kind of like just been like seeking through society everywhere else. Like here it was relatively low and now it's kind of just exploded. I know a bunch of people who've gotten it, and I don't know anyone. Oh, actually I know one person who got it symptom free, but otherwise everyone who got it pretty intensely for a while. So yeah, I had the classics. I had like I got pretty bad fever last Monday, and well, whenever that is when the podcast comes out. And the fever only lasted for like 2 or 3 days, but then afterwards I had really sore throat where it hurt just doing anything. That stuck around for a couple of days, which was nasty. I didn't completely lose my voice like you, Liam, but I was still out enough for like almost a week that I couldn't really do anything.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that you were able to film today, because when I got hit, I was out of action for like 2 whole weeks. So you've recovered 50% quicker than I have, that's for sure. Yeah.
And Manu was streaming during his COVID.
You were actually.
I was reading his updates like, holy crap, this man's built like a machine.
Yeah, I did actually streamed while I got COVID.
You streamed getting COVID.
Yeah, basically.
Now that's a meta.
Basically.
He was doing it.
Just streaming your tests.
Yeah, he like licked someone else's COVID like on stream.
It's like, this is an experiment. Yeah, it's a subathon. Make me lick
Getting COVID at 3 a.m.
10 subs. I'll lick this door handle. I got off a public toilet.
Oh, an IRL stream, I see, yes.
But basically I kind of could tell already. It's like in the evening I had like this pressure, so I went to my office kind of like already in anticipation, but I still felt pretty good that morning, so it was more like a precaution. And then while I was streaming, like my voice was gone, like right from the start. That was also a bit of a red flag. That my voice was I sounded like do you know Corpse Husband?
Yeah, he sounds great. If you're sounding like him, that's a big plus.
You should just go and get COVID again.
Yeah, everyone was very like, oh, sexy voice, you should keep this. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, you should read some creepypasta.
The
Yeah.
sexy
Exactly.
phlegm.
And then while I was streaming, I only streamed for like an hour and a half, and I could tell like in the last 30 minutes, I could genuinely feel, okay, no, I'm starting to get cold. This is not good. I stopped streaming, and then like, I think like 20 minutes later, I probably had like 39 degrees fever or something. And again, I went really fast. Probably streaming wasn't, in retrospect, the smartest choice to make, but
Can I ask, are you the first live streamer to get COVID live on stream?
that would be interesting. I bet I should have named
You
the
should have
stream
checked.
that. Yeah, I should have made a bigger deal out of it. Missed opportunity now in retrospect, now that I think about it.
Absolutely. And Sophie, how are you doing in comparison?
In comparison, much better. I have to say, I actually lost my voice as well for completely different reasons.
Selfish reasons, I would say.
Shellfish
I wouldn't
reasons.
say selfish.
I would.
I'd just say indulgent reasons.
Indulgence is selfish.
I went to karaoke twice in 1 week.
Twice.
I found out that was one karaoke session too many. I think 1 a week is fine, 2 is overdoing it a bit. I lost my voice, and so I thought, oh my goodness, do I have COVID? But there was no pain. It was just gone. And I found out that from people who had actually lost their voice through COVID, that it is, like you say, Manu, like it is an actual sore throat where nothing you do seems to improve it. Like no amount of lozenges, no amount of tea can actually apparently alleviate the pain. And like you mentioned, I
nothing
was
did.
completely symptom-free earlier this year when I had COVID, so I didn't know that. And I was like, okay, so this isn't COVID, tested negative. And I was like, I'm just an idiot.
I just like singing a lot.
But a fun-loving idiot.
Let me ask you this, Sophie, because one experience I've made here in Japan, well, obviously there's a really big karaoke culture. I kind of feel recording videos. I was very scared at first coming back here and, you know, being so dependent on my voice work-wise, where I was kind of afraid that karaoke would really like, oh, I've already recorded today and now I'm going to karaoke. Will I have no voice tomorrow? I kind of discovered the opposite, that recording videos
You had more voice?
yeah, I had. I mean, not more voice after doing it, but like in general, like compared to times previously before YouTube when I did karaoke, I could sing better, which was surprising, and also didn't lose my voice as much.
That's potentially because you've warmed your voice up recording beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. You've warmed up your vocal cords.
Well, I'm also not sure. Do you guys do any like warm up exercises before you record? Because I do that for sure. Like I do like vocal exercises a little bit at least, so that probably helps.
A little bit, yes. Ones that I've stolen from my wife, who is a musical theatre performer.
You guys are going to have to impart your secrets on me because no, that's not how I operate.
No, Sophie, we like the way you talk. Very the kings make it work. So we're not gonna give you any tips.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sophie, since you're such a karaoke fiend, can I ask what's your go-to karaoke song? You get in the room and you're like, bam, in the machine.
It depends on my mood and it depends on who I'm with. There are some karaoke songs
Giving
that I
shade
that
to
I
half of your
cannot
friends,
leave.
Sophie.
That I cannot leave. Well, yeah, you just gotta know your audience, right? But there are a few songs that I can't leave a karaoke room without having sung during that session, and they are currently, like, it changes a bit, but currently it's Celine Dion, which is
song.
which
The
is
song.
What song is it?
which song out of Celine Dion? Oh fuck, I can't forget. How can I forget the? I know the lyrics. I don't know the song name. Oh, it's
What's the
all
lyrics?
coming back
Sing
to
it.
me now.
No, don't
it's
sing
all
it,
coming back
actually.
to me now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if your voice is already almost gone, it's not a great song to sing. But I ignored it, and I
That
was
gets
like,
pretty intense.
It's
Yeah.
most Celine Dion songs get very intense, and that one
Yeah.
gets more intense than ever. But no, it's a song that I have to sing. I don't know why. I just love it. It's so dramatic. It's so dramatic. I get very into it. I'm like, you know, as if I'm shooting a music video, sliding down doors and make
which one is it?
make a whole scene out of it.
Wait, what is that one called? Did you say the name?
It's all coming back to
It's
me
all
now.
coming
That's
back
it's
to me
that's
now.
the actual song. I'm
Oh,
not
that's
saying
the
like,
name of the
this-
song.
yeah,
I thought you
right.
forgot the name of the song and now it's all coming back to you. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what is it then? It's all coming back to me.
no, that is the song.
Oh, okay, that's the name of the song. I don't know that one then.
We'll
great
have to do
song.
karaoke, and then
I-
I will
Yeah.
introduce
Sophie-
you to the song.
I will
Let's
go
go.
to karaoke just to hear you attempt that incredibly intense song.
Why? How can you doubt me? Well, on a completely different genre, I also can't leave a karaoke room without singing at least one Tupac song. But my go-to will probably be either Ghetto Gospel or Life Goes On, or maybe Dear Mama.
Wow.
My-
What a stark contrast.
That is a strong combo, I would say, right there.
The duality of Sophie.
Exactly. You know, I'm nuanced. You know, I've got more layers.
Are you a karaoke person, Liam?
I will answer that. Sophie, what is your final song, though? I'm really curious now if this is going to also take us in a different direction.
My final song, it really, again, so this one is, there's too many, but right now, I'm really liking Adele. And I also really like
Okay.
Adele's album 25. And Said My Love, I really like Said My Love. I think it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Let's
Okay, so in general, you're quite like a bit of more of a soulful singer. Someone who gets up and like bears themselves on a stage.
I'm honestly an anything singer. If I go to karaoke, I will not know the song and I will still sing it.
Just sing it. Oh, I feel that.
Oh, I can't do that.
I think what really did my throat was numb. I was like screaming.
Oh, good choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. That's nostalgic.
Practically have to scream that.
Yeah, exactly. And it was not good for me.
When it comes to me in karaoke, I, as everyone will know by now, incredibly introverted. The idea of getting up and singing in front of people, even people that I know really well, absolutely terrifying. I need to structure my song choices.
You have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, but no one's watching me right now. No one's here. And I don't sing. I also don't sing on Grand Line Review.
We're here. Oh, so it has to be a physical thing.
It has to be a physical thing, and I need to be singing. So I have to structure my song choices in a way that the audience has to join in. Essentially means that I pick a lot of like easy classics that people can't resist, like some Backstreet Boys or other 90s stuff, where everyone at the chorus just uncontrollably jumps in.
Yeah, we'll have to keep that in mind, Sophie, when we go, the three of us, and then we'll on purpose be quiet.
Yes, we
And
won't
Liam's like,
sing.
"Eh."
He's like, it's not working, and then we completely scar him, and then he'll never go
My
to
plan-
karaoke again.
Just like raised eyebrow,
You will not be able to resist. There are just some songs that you've got to join in on.
what is it, like Sweet Caroline?
Oh yeah, you have to. Dun dun dun. If only for that. Yeah. But say something like Bohemian Rhapsody. How can you not sing with Bohemian Rhapsody?
Right, fair enough.
Very
It's
true.
impossible.
Or like Lose Yourself or something.
Yeah, Lose Yourself, yes, that's another classic, I suppose, yes.
Yep, about on par, yeah.
Like, I'm having flashbacks, I'm like, it came up twice, yes, it did come up on both nights, I remember
Of course
singing
it
it
did,
both
of
nights.
course it
It's probably actually the only rap song that I would have a chance of singing, just because Eminem was such a big part of my childhood, so I actually know the lyrics. If I attempt anything else, I just sort of stumble over my tongue because the words go so quickly.
We should try Despacito with you.
Oh, God.
I like that's actually really fun in karaoke to sing, especially when the rap part starts. It gets too fast almost. I like one song I really have been enjoying, like I've rediscovered recently. I think there was like I'm not sure if it was TikTok or wherever it came from, is like Grace Kelly by Mika.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
which is
Always loved
That's
Mika.
a
Yes.
fucking awesome.
Do you actually know the lyrics, or are you one of those people like me who just sort of hum along but increasingly higher?
No, and I mean you get the lyrics in karaoke, right? So you don't have to know.
No,
what
but
Mika's-
I mean in general, if Grace Kelly comes into your head, like
well, by
you're
now,
listening to it and you
like
wanna
this
sing
year, I've
along.
been singing it so much at karaoke that by now I do know the lyrics.
Impressive.
Nice.
I think we should do a blind karaoke Grace Kelly challenge then.
Sure.
Oh, I am very surprised to hear you mention that, Liam, because Manu, the amount of times I have asked Liam to come out to karaoke and the amount of times he has rejected me is insane.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's because I would lose my voice and I record pretty much every day. So karaoke is something I need to plan like a month in advance.
Yeah, I told you, Liam, one is the golden number. If you do two, I won't ask you twice in the 1 week, but once is fine.
One is not the golden number because I've been to karaoke whilst doing this and I couldn't record the next day and it was very problematic. My voice is weak and fragile.
That's very exciting. Liam must go hard at karaoke. Like, he must be going super hard to lose his voice.
Go hard or go home, Sophie. And I normally go home.
Once I signed up, I was like, had to go all the way, baby.
It's just when someone picks Bon Jovi, like It's My Life or Living on a Prayer, it's like all of the, you just have to join in. You, even if you're not the one singing, you've just got to yell. And in fact, especially because you're the one not singing, because you've got to make it louder to like harmonize as shittily as you can.
I love that you mentioned Living on a Prayer. Apparently there's you know how like there's the Bon festivals here in Japan, where it's like basically these summer dances with like bonfires and stuff like that. And apparently there's a version where the rhythm of Living on a Prayer works really well with that dance. So you can look up Bon Festival Living on a Prayer on YouTube and you'll see like Japanese people dancing the traditional dance and chanting that song.
Okay, I have to do this right now.
Sort of on that note about songs and dancing, the reason why I went to karaoke twice in 1 week is because I actually recently took up dancing. I think I've told you guys before that I'll find any way to do a bit of cardio without actually having to do actual cardio. And so dancing was something that I took up maybe 2 months ago or something, and there was a beginner showcase that the class that I've been doing dances with, and so we performed last week. Because of that, we decided to go to karaoke on the night that we performed, like, you know, in the lead up as we were getting ready, and it was really funny because I think karaoke is actually like a really great way to find how well you mesh with people, because these are people that I haven't really, you know, they're not old friends of mine like Liam. They're not people in my close circle that I tailored my songs to. But as soon as we started singing, I remember I like scooted over to this girl. She was scooting over to me and we were like singing back to back. Our dance instructor was like, "Did you guys really just meet through dance? It looks like you guys have been best friends."
You're the most extroverted person, Sophie. You're just making friends.
Sophie, you understand that having mentioned you danced, you now have to show a bit of that, right?
Oh.
I'm going to give you the choice. Either you can do it here here, or you can show the video that you showed me.
It's not just me. I'll have to get Red's permission because Red and I did it together.
Just zoom in on you, because I've seen the video, and at all times, Sophie is front and center. Not necessarily because she's the best dancer, but because she's the shortest and
I want to
can't
see
be in
it.
the
I want to
back.
see that. Please send this.
It's a great video. You did really well. You got some moves. So does Red.
I want to see that.
Yeah, Riley did very well. He has the advantage of height, so Riley could hide at the back. Whereas me, because I'm short, I am front and center the entire
Yeah,
time.
you're the centerpiece pretty much the entire time.
Wouldn't you have the advantage to hide with your small? Like, you could hide at the back.
I'm never positioned to stand in the back. It's not up to
You
me.
didn't want to, is what you're telling me.
No, I didn't do my own positioning. No, yeah, that's how I get away with it. Like, oh no, I am really actually humble. It's just my height. I have to stand at the front. I have to get all the attention.
So I need the pedestal. It's
Yeah.
because of my height.
Manu, I'm watching your video now. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay. Let's watch the video that Manu sent then.
It looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, right? But I also want to see Sophie dancing.
It is quite something.
I don't have it on me, so I'll have to send it to you afterwards.
I hear excuses. Then you have to dance here now, Sophie. Isn't that how it goes?
That's all right, because if you're watching the podcast right now, I'm sure that our editor can put a clip in of it.
True.
And if you're only listening to it, stop doing the dishes and watch the damn podcast.
Yeah, watch the proper podcast.
You're missing out. You're missing out me being front and
What's wrong
center.
with you?
You miss out on stuff like this.
Speaking of watching the podcast, I have a mother update. So as we have established by now, I think my mother does watch this podcast and or listen to it quite regularly. Yes, we may have
go.
established this in the episode when you weren't here. Actually,
Yeah, I feel like
But-
that was established without me.
This does pertain to you quite strongly because my mother was helping me move some fragile equipment into my studio. And on the car ride there, because she often brings up topics that we've spoken about on the podcast, just suddenly out of nowhere said, "Manu's my favorite."
Damn it.
I did remind her that her son was also on the podcast.
Oh, your mom's the best. Shout out to
You
Liam's
are
mother.
her favorite because you called her young, I believe, was the reasoning. And I revealed roughly how old my mother is.
Maybe you should try that as well, Liam.
No, because some people need to hear the truth.
Oh, what are you trying to do, Liam? Trying to become her least favorite?
It's possible I already am. I didn't want to ask who was the second favorite because I didn't need that crushing blow.
Oh my god, that is so cute. I love that your mom watches this podcast. That's hilarious.
She's tried watching my One Piece videos before when she first discovered that I did YouTube. She was like, "I don't understand what's going on, but you're very good." That's a perfect impression of my mom.
That's so funny because that's actually a perfect impression of my mom as well. I don't understand what's going on, but you're really good for Julia.
Do you have the same mother?
Yes.
What's going on here? I actually have a funny story in that relationship as well. In that regard, I guess. One of my best friends from Germany, or to be precise, my best friend from Germany, he started watching the podcast as well. And he started with the episode where we had the school episode, where we talked about our school life. Well, first of all, he called me out that I never told him that I got a suspension for defending him in sports class. But he also reminded me of a story that I personally had forgotten that I think you might want to hear. So to add to the legend of violent Manu. So apparently, I'll throw you back just to get you back in. Basically, we had these groups in school, right? And there was like this rivalry, blah, blah, blah. And basically, my best friend at that time got it was always like I guess bullied a little bit by another group, and that kind of was like this rivalry that went on until we graduated. And so on our graduation ceremony, basically one of the guys from that group came and went to shake his hands and be kind of like, "Hey, we're graduating now," like kind of that gesture, right? Like let's bury this, let's shake on it, and which was a nice gesture, I guess. And so he even though they had teased him and there was a lot of hate between these two groups, he was like, "Okay, sure, let's do it." So he reached out, and the guy, of course, does this one, right? He does the classic, "Oh no."
Yeah.
And so what I personally had completely forgotten, what my best friend reminded me of, was that apparently I saw that, came from behind, and just smacked the dude in the back of his head and left. And apparently he was very nice the rest of the evening. thing, but I had completely, until he told me that story, I for some reason had completely forgot about that.
You've just committed so many violent actions that you can't remember them anymore.
That was the least egregious of the type of stuff that I usually do. It's not even worth mentioning.
So my personal, like, the way I rationalize how I could forgotten like such an iconic moment is that I think I remember being very much done with high school almost like a year before, like mentally I was like so done with like the people and everything, like half a year before graduation. I personally think I was just so done with everything at that point that I just didn't really register anymore. That's how I explained it to myself. But I thought it was hilarious because he told me that story and like it came back and I was like, I don't know, how could I not remember this anyways? So I thought it was funny.
Manu in his prime.
Yeah, indeed. So that came back. Also,
sounds like he deserved it.
Yeah.
Good job.
I think so. I think he did. But don't be violent.
I can't believe people still do this in this day.
Right, that's what I think.
Wasn't that like from the 70s or 80s that was like a cool thing to do?
Maybe Manu's revealing his age here. We always joke that Liam's the old one, but it's actually Manu.
Yeah. I mean, my age is undisclosed, so I might be older than Liam. Who knows?
It's true, by several decades potentially.
Yeah, back when this was still cool.
Before there was color.
You look quite youthful for 60, yeah.
Thank you. It's the baby
You're
blood.
welcome.
That's funny that, so your mum started watching the podcast, Liam, and Manu, your best friend's watching it. Well, my sisters have also started watching this podcast, which is something that I think I did disclose in the same episode that Liam disclosed this about his
did.
mother.
Right,
But
great.
just to bring that for you, Manu, just so
Thank
that you're
you.
not missing out. And I think there have been a few things, there have been definitely a few stories that I've told about my sisters. My oldest one, my older sister especially, has been
Girl,
like,
you shared
Pretty much from episode 2, yeah.
you're going to tell everyone about my Disney Monopoly.
traumatized. Did you have a comment on that?
She was like, thanks for sharing everything. My younger sister actually had COVID around the same time as you did, Manu. And so she was off, staying at home. So basically what she did during her COVID period was binge watch all of our episodes. And I would at random points throughout the day, she'd send me screenshots of funny moments, or she'd be like, I watched this, and this episode, and I really enjoyed it. What other episodes would you recommend? So she's stayed clear of most of our anime related episodes because she's not an anime fan, but everything else, which is probably the type of content that I guess our usual audience don't watch, my sisters have
it's
been
the exact
watching.
Opposite, yeah.
Right.
Like, I can't picture my mother watching, like, the Hunter x Hunter episode we did, or something like that. But
Exactly.
anything else we do, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's exactly the same for me. Yeah, for my friend is also, he is not that interested in anime at all. So I guess it's good that we have the good balance between all these different contents.
It is. We're not suddenly, but we're starting to actually get a diverse audience, which is, I guess, what the goal was. So if different people from our lives have actually started finding this interesting, firstly, that's weird and why. But secondly, that's amazing. That's what we wanted to do.
So good to know that like your mom and Sophie's sister and my best friend have so much in common. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we should do a big get together.
Speaking of the thing it is that we were talking about, which was binge watching stuff during COVID. Manu, I saw something interesting on Twitter. You started watching The Boys during COVID, and I was interested in that because I did the exact same thing when I was afflicted.
Yeah, I was actually kind of worried that we do the exact same thing and I'd start getting into first class flight.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
I didn't.
Good. Well, you didn't have that second week. If you'd had that second week, that's where you would have gone.
You weren't desperate enough.
I did get into Bungo Stray Dogs, however, which I've actually already I rewatched the first 2 seasons.
Proposes topic. Starts new topic.
No, sorry. Instead, that was just on top.
It was like, nah, not interesting enough, Liam.
Yeah, Liam, enough about that. This.
Yeah, well, enough about that.
I'm interested though because I'd be keen to have your opinion on it. Sophie, have you seen The Boys?
Only the first season, and maybe one episode of season 2.
What? And you didn't continue?
Yeah, that's enough to have an
Really?
opinion.
Oh, my friends get so upset at me about this. I have a real problem with series. I have a real problem. That's it. That's it. No further explanations.
All I wanted to say.
No, but I do have a real problem with series that are ongoing. If there is a break between seasons, I find it very hard to continue watching once a new season comes out.
That's me with Attack on Titan.
Okay, so that's the thing though. Anime is probably one of the only things that I don't have that problem with. And even then, I still have that problem. The only reason why I don't have that problem with Attack on Titan is because, one, I really enjoy the series, but also it's because I watch it with a group of friends on a weekly basis. So it's much more of like a social thing as well as me just catching up on a series that I love. Whereas with The Boys, there are a few other series that I did this to, and I was telling my friends about this the other day and they were so upset at me. I did it with Ozark. Never finished Ozark.
I've never started it.
Ozark's another good one. Ozark's a pretty good series.
That's what I hear. That's one of those names that gets thrown around with like The Boys and all of the other things that I just never have time to do unless I'm, afflicted by plague.
Yeah.
I actually absolutely know what you mean, Sophie. I have the exact same thing, and I do have it with anime as well. It did happen to me with Attack on Titan. But to be fair, the problem with anime for me also is I have a real problem, like, especially if I already know what's gonna happen because I've read the manga or something, even though I know that the animation is gonna be, like, even with One Piece, I'm like, even though if I know the animation is gonna be hype, the fact that I already know what's gonna happen, I can't be bothered to watch it. Like, it happened to me with My Hero Academia and Black Clover and Attack on Titan, where I'm like, I know what's happening, and even though, yeah, animation great, but yeah, so that's a problem I have.
Although sometimes it's the opposite. Like, I'll deliberately tune into One Piece because I know that something's going to be happening this week. That's a rare circumstance.
Which is the more logical thing to do, I personally think. Like, I want to feel that way. But then with One Piece, I have a different problem, which is a whole different barrel to open, I guess. Like, I don't like what the animation has done. Like, my big problem with the One Piece anime used to be pacing, and now it's basically just super aura, super saiyan, whatever's happening.
So I think it was BDA Law who retweeted an interesting meme that gave me a little bit of a chuckle. It
Which
was like, what manga
almost
fans saw?
made me smirk.
Oh, yes,
I almost smirked a little bit there.
almost elicited a form of laughter.
Almost.
It was this side-by-side comparison of what manga readers read and what anime watchers saw. And it was Luffy doing the uppercut of Kaido, the manga page, and then the anime, it was just like a blank white frame because it was just covered in light.
Yeah, I mean, this would probably be an episode in itself, but yeah, I like, just to quickly, I guess, share my thoughts on that. I think I understand what they're going for, and I think it's not working, at least not for me. I think it takes away, if everything's epic, nothing is epic, kind of in that fashion.
I think we've had this discussion before, and I have disagreed in the past, but I think it's gotten to a stage where it is simply too much. I didn't mind it when they were just dipping their toes into it, but now it's like, I watched that Luffy versus Kaido fight, and it's like watching Goku versus Majin Buu or something in Dragon Ball. Like, Luffy's flying around, and they're like punching, and there's power-up energy, and I don't know about, I mean, it's not enjoyable for people like us, perhaps.
Maybe.
But do you think it's because the section that they're animating right now, where the anime is up to, is like where the bulk of the fighting is in this arc, and in this act even?
I mean, maybe it is because the animation has, and there is just a precedent to One Piece, and it has changed. I think that's the biggest problem, because if One Piece had always been that way, then maybe that we wouldn't mind as much. But we come from a very grounded animation where kind of everything, yes, there's fire attacks and whatever and devil fruits, but I felt like the animation up to Whole Cake Island or something was fairly grounded, and it felt like everything was kind of happening, right? It was like, yes, the fire is actually there, and like the person is fighting, there's a choreography. Well, I feel like Wano, like the animation style has changed so much where it's kind of like power lines and lights and so on and so forth, and it's really I mean, we obviously know that it's not actually there because it's not in the manga, but if I just watch this for the first time, I'm also kind of unclear, like, okay, is this actually happening, or is this just like a stylish element? It just feels way less grounded now, I think, which kind of takes away from the experience for me, because it takes the emotion out of a lot of these scenes.
It does, and it's interesting for me in particular because neither of you, we've established this, grew up with Dragon Ball. I did. Dragon Ball also made by Toei, which means that they're also using the same, maybe not the same, but like very similar sound effects. So like when Goku would power up to when, Luffy gets an aura of Haki. They have their Toei sound library, and every now and then I'll be like, oh wow, that sound effect's like 20 years old, and they're still putting it to good use in One Piece. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it's gotten to a point where it is so radically different that you pretty much have to consider the anime like its own thing when it comes to that. The manga is just a completely different product.
I don't understand why they made that choice. Like, maybe they rightfully understood that people were falling a bit out of love with the anime, but took the wrong lessons away, is kind of like the way I feel about it.
Yeah, maybe they just felt like everything needs to be more epic, more hype. I mean, they've got so much competition.
To a degree, I think they were right, because the One Piece anime prior to this was the complete opposite problem. You would have a fight scene and it would just look so kind of slow and janky. It just felt really unsatisfying, whereas now we've rubber banded to the exact opposite direction, where everything is like super fast, bright lights, poppy stuff everywhere.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. It seems like, you know, I guess one of the biggest like step ups in terms of animation was when Demon Slayer came out, and there was so much hype about Demon Slayer, and because of the style of the fighting and like the way...
Coincidentally, just when Wano was starting.
Exactly.
Anime form,
and I think that's why, like, it's got that same, I wouldn't say it's the same feel, but I can understand like they're trying to replicate it in a way with that, the bright lights and the fire and all things.
I actually think you have a great point there, Sophie. I never thought about that, but they're absolutely going for Demon Slayer. The problem is Demon Slayer doesn't work with low budget and low time for one episode. True. Yeah, it's kind of Demon Slayer, but cheap. I feel like that's a great way of describing it.
Budget Demon Slayer. Which I want to clarify, it doesn't necessarily look bad. Just to everyone who's going to comment like, oh, the hard work of the animators. I do think it looks pretty good, but it's a different aesthetic to what we're used to.
I should also say that I haven't actually watched all the new episodes because I like to, this is another problem when it comes to One Piece for me, is because I want to watch it all at one go, I let it sort of just sit in the backlog so that I can watch it all at like once, but then I never have the time to actually sit down and watch all those episodes in a row. So I haven't gotten around to it in a couple of weeks now. So I haven't seen all the Roof Piece ones. And I think this is when the animation has like, it's from what I've heard and like sort of the screenshots that I've seen, it seems like this is where the animation has just gone like all out.
It has gone wild.
And that's why I asked, like, is that why? Because it's Roof Piece. I can understand why they would go so hard because it is Roof Piece.
I think, again, your connection or your comparison to Demon Slayer once again works here, because you could say that it's the same thing, where yes, the animation there is great in those special episodes like 117. I watched it and it's great. But again, Demon Slayer barely passes as a great anime to me because the animation is so polished and the story and the characters behind it are passable. But I think the animation is so good and the portrayal is so good that it passes as a great anime. While One Piece, even in those episodes where the animation is great, it's still not good enough for me to pass as great, just because like I feel like the emotions portrayed, I don't know, it just feels so different. Like there are no, like the characters don't get time to breathe. Does that make sense? And while I personally objectively love the new art style, like this kind of like inky Japanese kind of like more gentle art style, I love it objectively as like aesthetically. I think it's great. I think it takes away from what the anime managed to build before that, where the world felt really very real. It felt like just an anime version of a real world. You know, if you remember Marineford, for example, like the buildings felt real and the weather felt real and the people felt real, felt very grounded, while now it feels very like not fairy tale the anime, but just like fairy tale-y, kind of like this.
I don't know, fairy tale does have its own shanks, so maybe.
True. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the world doesn't feel as real to me. Like, I feel like they did a poor job with the new art style, making Wano feel like a real place, while Marineford or something feels like a very real place to me.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah, that's fair
Simply
enough.
Because I don't think the previous art style was up to scratch. I think it looked cheap, felt cheap, and I will gladly take our magical adventure on Wano over that. But do you think part of the problem is just the issue of always needing to escalate? So because they went so epic with something like Zoro versus Killer, like you need Luffy versus Kaido to kind of stack up to that minor clash at the very least, if not surpass it.
Why did they do that with Zoro and like, I don't understand.
Because it's Zoro. Because it's Zoro. Like, that's literally the only answer that you need.
That's the only answer you should need.
No, it literally created that issue though that Liam's talking about, where if Zoro jumping shatters like looks like it should shatter all of Wano into cubicles, then obviously Luffy versus then obviously Luffy versus Kaido has to top this. I don't understand why they did that, and like the auras I also don't understand.
I think I do. It's because Act 2 of Wano is so dry in terms of fights that you've got to like really cling on to what you've got and make it awesome.
I would say that it also happened even before Act 2 and before Zoro. It wasn't to the same scale in terms of aura and how hard they went with the animation. But I remember the fight between Luffy and Kaido, where Luffy gets pretty much like one shot, and that's really how it's supposed to be. It felt very different in the anime, where it actually felt like, you know, Kaido was struggling a bit more. And I thought that was a very, you know, that's a pretty big misrepresentation of what that fight is supposed to be. And it really, like we said, it alters our understanding of what these characters are and where they are at that stage.
So fun fact about that, I made a video on that whole situation and it got copyright struck by Toei on Christmas Day.
That's funny.
So
I actually
that's
made
why
a
you're
video
careful.
about
Merry
that
Christmas,
too, but
Liam.
I didn't
That's why you're
have
careful right now. Huh? I see.
We won't show any clips throughout this
I have some
discussion.
associated trauma with that particular fight, I suppose, because it ruined my Christmas.
It's fine. I'm not a Christmas person, as we now established.
We've established that. We've done all that. we went down a bit of a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, we were talking about the boys,
We were talking about this.
which we still have not talked about.
It's still untalked about, indeed.
That's just what we are. We're three like One Piece fans and creators. We get in a room and everything just leads back to One Piece. Like
The boys?
Grand Line
No.
leads to Lodestar Island. The boys, right? We're going to talk about this if it kills me. I loved it for the most part. I think it's a really depressingly refreshing and also kind of funny series at times. It kind of does everything effectively. It can make me laugh incredibly hard. It can gross me the shit out in a wide variety of ways. And it can also make me go, wow, this is the society we live in. It has a lot of different beats that it can hit.
I was surprised how much depth the story has and how self-aware it is. Like, I love that. Like, I probably love that the most about it, that it knows, like the series knows that it's a parody of superheroes and that it's also a social commentary, but it still doesn't take itself too seriously in that even, which I personally love. And then the acting is just next level. Like, Homelander's actor, like if he doesn't get nominated for an Emmy for like these performances, it's ridiculous how one human being can portray. Like, I feel like the last episode of season 2, I think that man acted out almost every emotion humanly possible in the span of like an hour. And it's it's awesome how like that character is obviously you hate, like you don't like him, he's like the villain in a way, but he's so complex as a character, and there's like so many aspects where you can kind of empathize with him because he had that shitty childhood and stuff.
He also just makes you pay attention. There is something about the presence of that character where if he's in a scene, like I am always tense if he's in a room.
It's very true.
Like I have to pay attention to him, which I think is great because that's kind of the character. The world has to pay attention to him and kind of be at his beck and call because he could slaughter all of humanity within 24 hours if he wanted to.
And you're kind of always in that situation where, as you correctly say, like he himself is struggling with, you know, balancing you can do whatever you want and just, you know, like everyone should fear and respect you, at the same time still kind of trying to fit into that society and be loved by everyone. And as you say, you're always unsure, like whenever people oppose him or give him, like tell him off, you're always left wondering, will he take it or will he go nuts?
Just
kind of
smite them. Yeah.
Is this the last I'm gonna see of this character?
Yeah.
Is the feeling I get a lot when if he's in a room with just one other person. I'm like, oh no, is like this could be the last moment I get with that other person.
And like Billy Butcher, fantastic. Carl is like, oh, that dude is such a great actor. It's ridiculous.
Eomer from Lord of the Rings.
What's the Robocop-y thing that he did? Something with D or something, where he basically plays like a Robocop version, where it's like kind of like futuristic cyberpunk kind of setting. That was also a really cool movie. Dredd, Judge Dredd.
Oh, Dredd.
Yeah.
Right,
I haven't watched that.
Yeah, so he's a great actor. And then Frenchie is like probably my favorite character in the entire. He's just so
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of get annoyed by Frenchie.
really.
Oh, really?
No, I think he's great.
He's like the least interesting character to me. He's still a great character, but every time it cuts back to like one of his stories, I'm like, okay, let's
Really
get this over with.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't care too much for Huey, honestly. But I mean, I guess that's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of the.
I can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
I think so too.
But I mean, that's kind of also part of his character, I guess, that he is kind of this generic dude.
Sort of supposed to, so that we can get a look into the world.
Yeah, through his eyes, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the audience's eyes, etc.
I was very like in the first season, I was very confused about these like cutscenes with the deep because I was kind of not getting where they were getting at with those. But starting with season 2, I really started to love them, like that side plot he has.
Apparently, that's just a thing that the author of the comic book does, the original comics, with some of his characters. He'll take one character from the very beginning and just separate them and have a side story that maybe links back up with the others. It's just like a trademark work of the author.
Sort of like a cover story with Oda.
Kind of, yeah. I'd love if Oda did some deep cover stories.
I love the character development they gave him. Like, even though it is kind of detached, I feel like probably there will be some sort of payoff in some way or form at least to it. But I like how they the character arc they gave him, where it's kind of he starts off as like the super asshole, but then you kind of have like these moments where he's trying to reckon with that, and he has like these moments with these marine animals. They keep dying. The lobster.
Yeah. He's a really good guy if you're a marine creature. If you're a human being, I'm not sure he's ever actually reckoned with how much of an asshole he is. I think the biggest credit that I can give the boys is that the Deep starts off as this incredibly like despicable, unforgivable like human who commits like that act. But then these days, he feels incredibly tame in comparison to the atrocities that everyone else has committed. So he feels more comedic relief, even though he is like by any standards like a terrible
yeah.
being. But in the context of this show, he's just kind of funny.
One thing I found out the other day, like maybe 1 or 2 days ago, is the fantastic, have you seen that? The fantastic social media project they've built around the boys. Like there's a VOD YouTube channel and VOD Twitter account.
Really? I knew there was a Twitter account.
And they're incredibly, like they produced proper, like kind of like from the show, like you know how it's like the social media company basically in the series, and they produced actual, you know, clips and highlights and news sections with all these characters and put them on YouTube where they're really popular, and like there's this whole community around it, which is super awesome. It's very meta. I love it.
Yeah, like breaking the fourth wall a bit.
But it's kind of like, oh yeah, you've seen this in the series, and yeah, like this company actually exists and it's actually on YouTube like you see in the show. So I think that's fantastic marketing from their end.
Is it enough for me to watch these clips and not have to watch the actual seasons?
I think it makes more sense to watch the seasons because I feel like they're more like kind of marketing.
It's probably better to watch the actual thing and not just the companion pieces to get like a full experience, I suppose.
Like, The Boys is a series that I want to catch up on, but it's just I know that in the back of my mind, I don't know if I'll ever have the time to do it or if I'll ever really like be able to.
That's what stopped
force
me
myself.
watching it for 3 years.
Same.
Yeah, right? It's like, it's
worth
something
it,
that
though.
I've heard so much about. I mean, I'm sure I'll eventually get around to it. So when season 4 comes out then, Liam, will you be watching it or will you be waiting to be afflicted with another virus?
I probably won't be watching it weekly, let's be honest. I
Yeah.
really love it, but it's just so hard to make the time, man.
Stranger Things is another one of those shows. I heard that the latest season is really good, but I stopped watching after I think season 2.
Season 2 really turned me off it.
Me
I
too.
watched 3 with my wife, but I don't know, it just seems to hit a lot of repetitive beats and I've stopped caring.
Did we talk about the other Amazon big project, The Lord of the Rings? Did we talk about that before?
Yeah, we
I feel
have.
like we may have when we went into the Lord of the... I think that I watched the trailer for it like live on podcast. Tell you what we can do. We can get more controversial. Bringing things back to the boys, I wanted to ask you about it because I have 3 problems, a mere 3 problems with the boys that I think stops it being Just like a perfect series, okay? The first one is a problem exclusive to me. I don't think pretty much anyone else, maybe a couple of other people in the show are gonna have this, but do you remember when we were doing an episode where you were saying that, Sophie, if you see someone speaking Korean in a Western movie, you can go, oh, that's not real Korean, that's not native. And the same with Manu in German. Do you? I'm not sure if you do, because that's the same with me and theatrical lighting equipment.
Oh, I was gonna say something different because actually the brother of Kumiko, he's Korean. He's not Japanese. His Japanese is horrendous, and I don't understand. They gave him so many lines in Japanese, and I don't understand why they didn't get someone who actually can speak Japanese.
That's something I never would have noticed. I did, however, notice a particular scene in season 3. Starlight's fighting, and essentially her power is, takes energy from light and then projects it. And so Huey has a great idea to enhance her powers, and he approaches a lighting desk, and he basically puts all of the faders up, all of the lights turn on to 100%, and Starlight gets like a supercharged burst. Now, that probably seems like a good idea if you're not familiar with theatrical lighting equipment. Great idea. Put faders up, lights go on, bang, job done.
That sounds great. What could be wrong with it?
That broke my immersion, because I know the exact desk that he just rocked up to, like with no experience. It was a Grand MA1, an MA1, which is like 30 years old. Like, firstly, the average person can't even tell a lighting desk from a sound desk. So the fact that he spotted this and went, aha, great idea, is absurd. Secondly, what would have happened in reality is he would have rocked up to the desk, tried to put the faders up, and the desk would have said, desk locked. And he wouldn't have been able to unlock it, because to unlock it, you need to have a pop-out keyboard, you need to press the right keys. He would not have known that. This would have been a disaster. He should be dead, is what I'm saying. He should be dead. If that whole situation is contingent on him understanding this very specialist piece of lighting equipment, he should be dead. That's it. That's it.
But he just turned the lights brighter, Liam. Why are you picking this apart?
I make Starlight win by put lights on. It's not that simple. That's why they employ people to do it.
I don't know. I think
job.
it looks incredibly simple. I don't think anyone could do it.
So, like, for all of the depth that the boys has, they did not pay attention.
The lighting table broke it.
It broke it for me. First, and why would Vought be using an MA1 for fuck's sake? They have the money to shell out for like an MA3 or something. And this like main... Okay.
Liam wrote a letter to the producer.
Not gonna get into this. Problem number this one that I have with the boys is I'm not all that interested in the titular The Boys, because I find their stories a bit repetitive. It seems to me that a lot of the time what happens is they'll get together, then one of the boys will go, nah man, I'm out. This is too much for me. I can't go that far. They'll try to leave. 2 episodes later, they'll get dragged back in, and then another one of the boys will go, nah man, I'm out. This is too much for me. They'll leave, get dragged back in, and then sometimes one of the boys will go, I'm out because I want to do more fucked up shit than you guys want to do. They'll leave, and then the boys have to go and stop them and bring them back in, and it's just like, just stay together, boys. Please, the boys. Just...
I don't think it's for me, it's not a giant issue, but I get your point, and I think...
No, it's not giant, it's just a little.
Yeah, what I personally think might have fixed that, but I guess it's not in the source material. I don't know, the source material would have been to like maybe add a fresh character here or there to the boys to give them have a new character to explore. Might have been like a way to circumvent that.
Yeah, it gets really tricky like the 3rd or 4th time. They're like, we got to bring Butcher back to his senses. And it's like, again... Come on. You know him. You know what he's capable of. And especially because whenever they unite for a cause, it's like, we're going to do this no matter what. And then they don't do it because what happens? And it does matter.
Would you say that that's a bigger problem or a lesser problem than the inaccuracies
than the lighting table?
MA1? Yes.
Significantly lesser. Significantly. That is not immersion breaking, because people do that. They get in over their heads and then they're like, man, I don't know if I can do this. That's realistic. The MA situation is not realistic.
Okay, what's number 3 in that case?
Yeah, 3rd problem that I have with the boys, and this, like all of the problems, this one, it is minor. They're all kind of minor, let's be honest. It's a really great show.
What's with you and minors?
No, that's your established thing, Manu.
Nice try, Liam.
Nice try. It's recorded. I guess the fact that it's so good makes the little things even more obvious to me. Are you guys familiar with like the trope of the confusing question. That probably doesn't explain it very well. It'd be if I was to ask Sophie something really profound, like
You confused me.
"Oh,
Was
Sophie,
that the
how-"
confusing question?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This got really meta because that was a use
That
of the
question
trope.
confused me.
It needs a better name. I'm sure it has an actual name, but I don't know it. But it's like if I asked Sophie, like, how do you deal with the pressures of being a hero and all of the pressures every day? And instead of Sophie actually giving a direct answer to the question, she'll say something completely left field, like, have you ever wondered what life would be like for a biscuit? And then Sophie will spend the next 60 seconds using this life as biscuit metaphor to describe, like, dealing with pressures as a hero. The Boys falls back on that a lot, and it's something that really annoys me because it's a really, like, honestly amateur writing technique, and you see it a lot in independent theater because it's a really easy way to make yourself sound smart, like crafting that metaphor. I would call it like the writing equivalent of wanking.
It's the Forrest Gump, basically, no? The life is a box of chocolates.
Yeah, but like, at least that's over really quickly. Like, these metaphors take like between 30 to 60 seconds to explain, but it's always that like stumping question of like, what did you just ask me?
Also, I guess in Forrest Gump, the idea is kind of that he's not the smartest, right? So I guess that metaphor kind of drives home, is kind of used
makes sense,
sarcastically in that context.
But yeah, those are my three things.
I'm gonna pay attention to that. I never noticed.
Pay attention to it in all media because it's a very common trope in pretty much everything. It's a very easy way to write dialogue when you've got two people dealing with a heavy subject. Pop the confusing question, make the character go, and then somehow make it relate. And it just makes you sound so smart as a writer for, in my opinion, very little effort.
Actually, now that you mention it, I don't like those scenes as well. It's like, how do you live with yourself? And it's like, yeah, as you say, it's like, when I was a kid, we had this jar of pickles in the basement. I never could open it.
Yeah. Oh, God. That's another iteration of it. When someone asks you the question and you don't answer the question, instead you just go, 20 years ago, when I was a young lad, my father used to take me to the fields to watch the planes. And it's like, oh, fuck.
Fuck, I just ask you a fucking
Answer
question.
the question. Don't want to hear your father and the planes and the fields and how it made you the man you are today. I just don't care. Tell it a different way.
But like you said, that I never really picked up on it as a trope, as an established trope, but that's something that happens, like you say, in all media.
Yes, because it's like
Yeah, it does.
quick, compressed way
Yeah.
to make whatever you're doing sound like it's of substance.
Like, exactly, very
and to
profound.
give you some insight into the character.
Yeah, some sort of backstory.
Yeah, it's like an excuse to give backstory, basically, to give exposition.
I pick up on it because in theater, in independent theater, a lot of the time all you've got is exposition. There are certain shows that I've done that's just 60 minutes of characters telling those stories. And it's just writers, you're talented. I'm sure you can find a better way to do this.
I mean, writing dialogue is really hard, to be fair.
Yeah,
writing
it
good
is.
dialogue, yeah.
But the people behind the Boys, they are good writers. And so every time they like fall back on such an easy device, I'm like, what, did half of the team not show up to work today? Oh.
I love how Liam keeps saying, like, these are minor problems, but fuck! Oh my god!
They
You're
are
shit!
minor problems. They are they're stuff that I'm playing up. But it's a great series.
Oh, but fair enough. Yeah, it is a great series. There's few movies or TV shows that I do think have barely any flaws. I feel like you can always get a bit nitpicky at some point. And
Yeah.
especially, I totally agree with you about this one, because I think it is a bit of a cheap trope. But I think there's also tropes where you can kind of go, it's very subjective whether you like something like this or not. And then obviously you'll find people who can nitpick stuff.
Hello.
Hello there.
Right over
That's me.
there.
Almost made an entire career out of it.
Do you have a TV show or a movie that you would say is perfect for you, Liam?
No, nothing is perfect.
Life is flawed. Burn it all.
The imperfections make it perfect, because 20 years ago...
Yes, Sophie, you're correct. I would say the closest thing is probably Lord of the Rings, but even that's like far from perfect. I think it's a really solid experience, but there are problems.
Like, yeah, do you think that you would think that way because of the nostalgia and the age at which you were when you first encountered the series?
Potentially, yeah. The closest thing I would have to a piece of media that I would put on that like very unproblematic level these days is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yeah, that was
That's
such
probably
a great movie.
the most recent
haven't
thing
seen
I've
it.
seen that I'm like,
Oh, Manu,
that
you've
could
got
be
to watch
perfect.
it.
I've heard only great things about it.
Okay, I don't want to hype it up too much, but
Even then, it probably has like at least one flaw, which is it's probably just a little bit too long. But other than that, loved it.
I think we talked about this movie. I brought that up before. One movie.
We did.
Which is it?
I thought you were talking about what we were talking about, but if you're going to change the topic, I don't have the future sight to be able to tell. You're like, yeah, you're blocking my hockey right now.
And you said it with a lot of confidence. You were like, we did. I don't know what it is, but we did.
We definitely did.
Well, I thought you were talking about us because we brought this up on the Marvel episode. Yeah, so... No,
I think I brought this movie up, but I think it's I'm not sure if it's underrated necessarily, but under the radar is Knives Out. We've talked about this before, right?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
we have spoken about that. I
yes.
agree with you. I love that film. Yeah.
Knives Out's a really good one.
Such fantastic writing, and the movie in general was just done.
And acting.
Yeah.
We tried to make you do Daniel Craig's Southern accent,
Yes.
and you wouldn't do it, I believe. So here's a chance to
right.
redeem yourself.
No, I'm good.
That was more Matthew McConaughey, I think.
All right.
Okay, so we found your range.
Matthew McConaughey is as far as I go, as far south as I go.
Very good.
What about you, Sophie? Do you have any movie or TV show that you'd put up on that pedestal?
No, I'm going to go the complete opposite route. And I only thought of this because we brought up Knives Out. And there's too many Chris's in
Christopher
Hollywood, I'm
Columbus.
forgetting. There's too many Chris's
There are.
in Marvel.
Please remove 2 of them.
Yeah.
Christian
Too many,
Bale.
but yeah, Chris Evans. Have you watched his new movie with I'm forgetting everyone's name. Ryan Gosling in The Grey Man. It was a new movie out by Netflix.
I've never heard of this film before now.
It was being marketed pretty heavily in Sydney.
Really?
Yeah, it was all
I
on
don't go out in Sydney.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, Liam doesn't leave his
suppose-
house.
It was on
Like, I
all
see
the
as much
billboards.
marketing in Sydney as I do in, say, Germany.
Well, it was on all the billboards and a lot of bus posters and things like that. So I watched it. It was a fun experience if you were just sort of like watching it, you know, without any sort of expectations or any sort of thought really. But basically, it's a movie about, the premise of the film is that Ryan Gosling is like not suicide squad, but like an ex-criminal who is being used by the CIA to do a lot of their dirty work. But then there's a bit of corruption, and so they're turning on him, and it's him against the world. But I was watching that film and I was going like, the amount of damage that throughout the film that this caused, like they were ruining entire cities. Like so much, like you watch an Avengers film and you go, holy shit, like that's a lot of things getting, you know, damaged. And this was like, this isn't even a superhero movie. Like what the fuck is going on? Like, and the amount of people that died. And I was like, look, I get it. You're the protagonist. And so we should root for you. But is it really worth it that all these people have died so that you can live?
That's like your classic James Bond premise where you've got this one spy causing havoc, explosions, dead people everywhere. And in the end, you're still like, yeah, Bond, you fuck that girl.
You did it, my man.
Good on you, you smooth, undetectable spy leaving destruction everywhere in your wake.
But he does it with style, so it's fun.
That is something that I've heard about, you know, not any sort of media, I suppose, that things don't actually always have to make sense. It's a bit of an irk for, I suppose, the audience, like, you know, because everyone's going to tear their hair out like you, Liam. Like, why the fuck would you leave this piece of information in here? Like, it's clearly wrong. But in terms of actually, like, selling something, there's a lot of times when you find out that actually, like, there can be plot holes and things don't have to be consistent and people will just forgive you for it, which I think is both a good and a bad thing, I suppose, because I wanted to be a writer when I was young. I wanted to be an author,
Really?
but I think, yeah, when I was younger, I really wanted to be an author. I really loved to read. I was a big bookworm when I was younger. And so being an author was my dream, but I think like nutting out details would be something that I would get super stuck in, like making sure everything is like consistent, you know, there are no sort of flaws. So actually like finding out like, actually, you know what, you can get away with things that might not make a lot of sense.
I think as an author, it's probably pretty rough because if you've got a popular book series that, let's say 100,000 people read it, you've got 100,000 eyes versus your one pair of eyes and brain. Like they're gonna pick it apart with bits that you like either didn't have the knowledge for, didn't think of.
Especially on the internet.
Was hoping that people would suspend their disbelief, and especially on the internet. Like this age of media criticism, nothing is safe. You can't
Yeah.
just enjoy things anymore. As we've demonstrated by my discussion of The Boys.
I mean, Harry Potter is the perfect example for me that a good story doesn't need to be 100% logical and without any flaws. I'm not sure. Have you ever come across that short of, what's his name? Bren Mulligan from College Humor, where he basically talks about how it's animal cruelty that in a world where everyone can teleport at will, you send the mail by nature's slowest bird. and yes, you can't operate on the grounds of Hogwarts, but why are we running our society on the rules of one school that runs civilization like the Illuminati? I mean, I think it's funny because it's true, but you can still, like, it doesn't change the fact what a fantastic story it is, and like you still love it, obviously.
I think my favorite Harry Potter meme is that where they highlight that one line in the book of like, Harry, did you put your name in the cup?
Dumbledore said calmly.
And then they cut to the film scene. It's like, Harry, did you put your name in the cup?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I think I've outed myself before that I wasn't a big Harry Potter fan growing up. Would you now say that Harry Potter is something that you had to have watched when you were young to get into? Or do you think it would be just as easy for me to really fall in love with it now?
I think the first two books might be.
But when I was a kid and I was like actively reading the Harry Potter books, I remember that there were a lot of adults around me who were also reading.
But they were reading it at the time when the hype was sort of
right.
big.
I mean, even though you haven't read it, Sophie, you probably know what's going to happen, right? You probably have been spoiled on so many big plot points.
I did actually I read a couple of books because I remember there were required readings for school. So I know I read the first one and Prisoner of Azkaban.
They skipped the second?
Yeah, well, it wasn't in order. So it's like in year 5, I might have had to read Harry Potter. And then in year 7, I might have had to read the third one. And I know I've definitely watched all the films, but I don't have any sort of recollection of it.
I mean, as a kid, definitely it was one of those books where I just lost myself in completely.
I think as you go on, they get significantly better. It's one of those series where like you start out and honestly, it's kind of generic, Philosopher's Stone. It has like a really nice premise, very generic story, but then it just builds into this really impressive storytelling machine, almost like One Piece-esque with its depth and characters. Except just, in a wizard school instead of a fun pirate adventure.
Like, I do like that J.K. Rowling keeps expanding on her universe is what I wanted to say.
Uniway?
My lips
Do you?
escaped.
You like the wizard shitting in the corners?
Well, see, that's the thing. I like the fact that she wants to keep working on this world. I just wish she, like, I would have done it personally instead of going,
stop.
what is it, Pottermore or whatever. Why not, if you have the creative energy left, why not write a prequel? Whatever. Write it about America, whatever, write it about the founding of Hogwarts. People were so thirsty for more Harry Potter, and she wrote articles about wizard poop.
Still are, probably.
Yeah, still are. And she wrote articles about wizard poop on the internet. I'm like, clearly you still, like, she works on those movies. Clearly you still care about your world and your work, and so many millions of people still do as well. But she, for some reason, I mean, maybe it's just I haven't written like 7 best-selling books myself, so maybe you're just at that point where like, no more. I just can't do this
Manu,
anymore.
You have no right to talk.
Yeah, it's probably like the George R.R. Martin effect, where he just refuses to write that.
To continue writing the bloody series. I know. I'm like, can you please do it?
Can I just say, at least in Game of Thrones, it makes sense that people shit in the corner. In Harry Potter, it does not at all.
My theory is that George R.R. Martin is a bit too scared. I think George R.R. Martin is too scared to finish writing, because once you have a series that big, like no matter what the ending is, there is going to be a large group of people who are unsatisfied. And I don't think he knows what to do with it.
It would have been different also if people would have been satisfied with the way the TV show ended, because then he could have gone like, oh, I'll go in a different direction, and if people don't like it, at least they have the... But now people hated the ending to Game of Thrones, the TV show, so now... And everyone's like,
So
oh,
much
he'll
pressure.
fix it with the books. Yeah.
I think, that actually gives him a lot of leeway, because the ending was so bad that surely surely anything he craps out needs to be better, just because of the natural skill that he has as a writer.
Like when you watch interviews with him, how unmotivated he is to actually write that book. And like he's literally doing anything else. He's writing like these like lore books and other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And other books. And then he like good on HBO. Like I personally think the trailer to the House of Dragon looked surprisingly good. I personally thought, like, I'm actually kind of excited for that. But he was like very invested in like these stories. And I'm kind of wondering if that's the same thing that's happened to J.K. Rowling, where she was kind of like, I still love this world and I still want to like add to it, but I can't be bothered.
Yeah, exactly.
Writing another book.
It's
It's a similar amount of books, 6 to 7.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the point where best-selling authors just go, you know what? I'm just gonna write about people shitting in the corner.
But at least she finished that
What
one.
you get.
I think also just too much time has lapsed now. I can't, no matter how invested in a world you are in, like I'm sure it's been what, close to a decade? Probably even like longer than a decade since he's released the last one.
Well, when Game of Thrones first started, I think the latest book came out not long after.
Yeah. It's like, I think everyone kind of expected him to finish the series before they'd ever catch up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or at least one more book before
Yeah.
the series.
Yeah.
Like if you stop working on a book, like I know he claims that he is still working away, but like if you're not actually
It's hard to
working
get back
in
into
that
it.
how could you fall back into the amount of characters as well that's actually contained in the books that they left out in the TV series? Like that's a shit ton of work. Yeah, like I don't have high hopes that he will ever finish it, which pains me because I was really into the series at some point.
Probably not, but one of the problems with a world like Game of Thrones is that it never ends. There is no satisfying ending. It just continues. New characters pop up, new politics happen, new struggles. There is no like, we saved the kingdom and we all end happily ever after.
But there is a core group of characters that we started with at the beginning that I'm sure everyone wants to see what happens to them by the end.
Yeah, for sure.
See, again, like also with Harry Potter, it's like the thing, I think the new movie series that they're doing, the world building they're doing in these movies, I don't have a problem with any of it. Like I really enjoyed it. There's like different political systems that they explore, and I enjoyed it. There's different schools, and it's kind of like this entire society of wizards. I think that's really, really cool. I just think the story they built around it doesn't like I feel it's trying to do too many things at the same time very unsuccessfully is kind of the problem these have, because the world building itself I think is super interesting. I just think it's like presented in the wrong way or format, if that makes sense.
Maybe. I haven't seen any of like the Fantastic Beasts stuff. So.
I remember watching the first one, and it was an enjoyable film, but as someone who wasn't like heavily into Harry Potter, I can't say that it meant much to me.
Can I just say, I've actually never gotten into any of the Harry Potter films, and maybe that's controversial because my wife was into 2 of them, but I've always been a much bigger fan of the books. I loved the books. I devoured the books. And the films to me were just kind of like this really watered down, condensed as crap, like sub-product. Like they were good.
Did you see the third one?
But nothing could capture the books. I've seen all of them. My wife was in the third one.
Oh, right. Yeah, the third one was too bad. I think a lot of people are kind of sad that they never kept going in that style. Like the third one was really like stood out as a piece of filmmaking in so many ways. And what came before it was just very unfinished, kind of like children movie-ish kind of vibe. And everything that came after was kind of like too CGI, like trying to be, not sure what it was trying to be really. So kind of sad that they never stuck with what they were trying to do in the third movie, which I thought was very interesting, where like, you know, musical, like, I mean, you probably have come across a lot of, or not, maybe you haven't, but there's a lot of, you know, great video essays breaking down the third movie and like the different musical themes in it and the visual themes.
Yes.
And yeah. So like the classic Nerd Writer videos and so on and so forth.
Here's my 4-hour deep dive.
Oh, I know there's this dude. What's this guy's name? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. He's like the big, next to you, Liam, the big Hunter x Hunter YouTuber. And he did like a 6-hour long breakdown.
One?
Yeah, he did like the 6-hour breakdown of Harry Potter. Like, but like his big videos are mostly all about Hunter x Hunter.
I don't know, because I watch even less Hunter x Hunter content on YouTube than I do One Piece.
Actually, my dance instructor watches New World Review.
Oh, yeah, you told me that. That's weird. That
is
really
weird.
weird. I mean, thank you, because you're probably going to watch the podcast at this rate, where we keep collecting people from our lives to view us. But I mean, thank you. Yes, that's all I should say in the future.
We should make a list of all the people we've converted to the podcast. from
Yes.
our lives.
We should have like a whiteboard behind each of us.
Well, yeah, I have told them. I have told the entire crew about the podcast.
Please share it with your friends and families.
Oh, so fun, quick story. Of my awkwardness, I was moving into my studio today. I'm finally getting out of the office. So I had to get a bunch of movers to get all of the heavy stuff that I'd collected over the past month or so to go in there. And naturally, the question comes up when they see a lot of this stuff, because when you spot the giant Zoro statue, you naturally go, "What do you do for a living?" And I had this moment of panic, the way I always do when someone asks me that question. But like an even more specific panic, because I'm like, not only I could tell them, but they not only know where I live, but where my office is now, because they will have the addresses. So I was just like, I'm a video editor. And then naturally they ask for who, and I'm like, have you heard of O'Hara? He makes anime videos on the internet.
You did it! Oh my goodness.
I did, because you were the first person that came into my mind, and then I was like, yeah, I also edit for this channel called Anime Balls Deep. But I was just trying to put them off the scent, like anyone that isn't me, basically.
But why
could
would?
still seem
How does
plausible.
that even make sense? Like, if he searches up and gets into the niche, like it will inevitably lead to you, the biggest One Piece YouTuber, and then they'll be like, holy shit, that's the guy I saw.
I'm not saying this was a well thought out plan. It was just what came to my head. I was like, I don't want to say what I do, but with the giant statue, I can't really deny what I'm a part. I can't just say, oh yeah, I work in online marketing with my big statue. So this was the solution my pathetic mind brain came up with at the time.
Liam, I kind of expect at this point that you put editor for O'Hara in your Twitter description, please, in your Twitter bio. I'm going to be waiting. I'll be waiting.
Yep. Every O'Hara video is done by this guy. I've gotten better at editing, I think.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
With that awkwardness out of the way, thank you for joining me, Sub Banana Sophie. No, Sub Prime Banana
Sub-Prime.
Sophie and
How
Unprime
dare
Banana
you.
Manu.
Also, there
I
is
have been
bonus
Prime
content.
Banana.
So if you want to
is.
support the podcast and get extra banana shenanigans, become a member. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's say that with a bit more confidence. Thank you. We appreciate it. The bonus content is fun. Do that. But until next time,
Thank you.
we don't really have an outro. Bye.
Bye.